Krishna changed the gear and he went to talking about the practical implications of running away from the battle. So we had completed a couple of verses in that series. We will do another 4 or 5 more where this set of ideas will get completed. Then I will come to the questions that were raised in yesterday's class, as well as people who have emailed me. So let me just share my screen. So we just saw this, right? Very few people are lucky to have a great battle like this for the protection of Dharma come on its own accord. And a Kshatriya will feel fortunate to participate in such a war. After this, Krishna says, Atha chettvamimam dharmyam sangramam na karishyasi tatah swadharmam kirtim cha hitva papam avapsyasi. If you don't fight in this battle sanctioned by dharma, you will be making the mistake of ignoring your own duty and reputation. He says, Atha chet tvam imam dharmyam sangramam na karishyasi tataha swadharmam kirtim cha hitva papam avapsyasi. Atha chet, if tvam, you, imam, this, dharmyam sangramam. So if you don't participate, if you don't fight on the right side of this war for dharma, if you don't na karishyasi, if you don't participate, if you don't get into this war of dharma, tataha, in that, then there are two things. Hitva, you would have abandoned or you would have ignored hitva, two things, swadharmam and kirtim. So one is what is natural to you, your duty, your responsibility, and the other is kirti, which is fame and name and renown. So you will lose both these things, and what will you gain instead? You will gain papam. Sin, crime, guilt. So papam avapsyasi, you will gain this if you don't participate in this battle. Atha chetvam imam dharmyam.
Atha chetvam imam dharmyam.
Sangramam na karishyasi.
Sangramam na karishyasi.
Tataha swadharmam kirtincha.
Tataha swadharmam kirtimcha.
Hitva papam avapsyasi.
Hitvam papam avapyasi.
Hitva papam avapsyasi.
Hitva papam avapyasi.
Avapsyasi. Okay. So then, akirtim chapi bhutani kathayishyanti te vyayam sambhavitasya chakirtihi maranad atirichyate. He says, people will forever talk about your dishonorable act. And for an honorable person, disgrace is worse than death. Right? Bhutani, all beings, not just people, all beings, everybody, people, all, of course, here it means humans, of course, but here you can take all the beings, everyone. It will become like gali gali mein shor hai, somebody chor hai, right? So like that, it will become a talk of the town. Bhutani te avyayam akirtim cha api kathayishyanti. So if everybody will talk about your dishonorable act, it will become a talk of town. Sambhavitasya, for an honorable person, sambhavitasya cha akirtihi maranat atirichyate. For an honorable person who has got certain values, certain self-esteem, disgrace is worse than death. It's better to die for people who have got honor than to be disgraced, than to lose their honor. So this is pretty straightforward verse that people will make fun of you if you run away from this battlefield. Akirtim chapi bhutani.
Akirtim chapi bhutani.
Kathayishyanti te vyayam.
Kathayishyanti te vyayam.
Sambhavitasya चाकीर्तिः
सम्भावितस्य च कीर्तिः
मरणादतिरिच्यते.
मरणादतिरिच्यते.
Then he says, Bhayadranaduparatam mamsyante tvam maharathaha yesham cha tvam bahumato bhutva yasyasi laghavam. So people will think that the great warriors, the Maharathas, will think that you have run away from the battle because of fear, because you had all these great Maharathas on the other side and the Kaurava side. They will think that you got afraid and you ran away. And people who held you in such high esteem will no longer respect you. Because to gain respect from the society, it's a long process. You have to continuously do so many things to gain the respect of people. But to lose respect is a matter of a split second. One stupid statement you make in public, all your respect is gone. All your name goes away. One scandal comes out, all your previous activities is washed out. So it is very important to maintain your honor, right? Even in a practical sense, he says, what will happen if you people, when great warriors say that you have run out of the battle because of your fear, they accuse you of being afraid. Because whether you may have compassion, whether you may have a very noble sentiment of not wanting to kill so many families, what how does it appear to the other side that you have got afraid? Because there is no distinction between somebody who is walking away because of fear or walking away because of compassion or any other sentiment. It looks like you are got afraid. And what is the natural result of a great warrior walking away is a disgraceful thing, and people who valued your you as a person and your skills, your martial skills, they will no longer respect you. भयाद रणादुपरतम
भयाद्रणादुपरतं
मंस्यन्ते त्वां महारथाः
मंस्यन्ते त्वां महारथाः
येषां च त्वं बहुमतो
येषां च त्वं बहुमतो
भूत्वा यास्यसि लाघवम्.
भूत्वा यास्यसि लाघवम्.
Laghavam is some kind of a very low light. They will look down upon you. They will not have a great opinion about you. Whatever respect they had will go away. So that's what he's trying to say here. Then he says, Avachya vadamscha bahun vadishyanti tavahitaha nindantastava samarthyam tato dukkhataram nukim. Your enemies will ridicule your ability. They will speak lowly of you, uttering unspeakable words. What can be more painful than this? Tava ahitaha, the people who don't want your welfare. Hita is welfare. Ahita, tava ahitaha, people who don't want your welfare, your enemies. Tava ahitaha, tava samarthyam nindantaha. They will criticize your abilities. They will doubt your skills. They'll put you down. Nindantaha cha bahun avachya vadishyanti. Avachya, words that are not meant to be spoken. That kind of foul language they will use, unparliamentary speech. They will speak these words about you, making fun of you. Tataha dukkatharam nukim. What can be more painful than this? You are giving an opportunity for the great warriors to make fun of you. You are giving an opportunity for them to say that you got afraid. And this is a golden chance for your enemies. They will make fun of you. They will speak unspeakable words and put you down. So, tato dukkataram nukim. What can be more painful than this? Okay. Avachya vadamscha bahun
अवाच्य वादांश्च बहून्
vadishyanti tavahitaha
वदिष्यन्ति तवाहिताः
nindantastava samarthyam
निन्दन्तस्तव सामर्थ्यं
tato dukkataram nukim.
ततो दुःखतरं नु किम्.
Then comes the famous shloka. Hato va prapsyasi swargam jitva va bhokshyase mahim tasmad uttishta kaunteya yuddhaya krita nishchayaha. If you are killed, you will attain Viraswarga. If you are victorious, you will rule over this bountiful kingdom. Therefore, arise, Arjuna, with a firm resolve to fight. Kaunteya, hatah va swargam prapsyasi. Jitva va sthitah mahim bhokshyase. Tasmat yuddhaya krita nishchayah uttishta. So, hata, if you are killed, Swargam prapsyas, you will attain Swarga. Now, there was a question about Swarga and Naraka. I think Sagar only asked this question. I'll come back to that at the end of this segment. So, you will attain Veera Swarga, which is, a special place which is reserved for people who die on the battlefield. So, if you die, God forbid, you will attain this highest position. And if you are victorious, Jitva va, then Mahim Bhokshyase, you will enjoy this kingdom. Having defeated your enemies, you will rule over this kingdom. So, in either case, you have nothing to lose. Basically, that's what he's saying. In both the phases, you have nothing to lose. Tasmat, therefore, yuddhaya krita nishchayaha, uttishta, get up, and with a firm resolve to participate in this war. Hato va prapsyasi swargam.
Hato va prapsyasi swargam.
Jitva va bhokshyase mahim.
Jitva va bhokshyase mahim.
Tasmad uttishta kaunteya.
Tasmad uttishta kaunteya.
Yuddhaya krita nishchayaha.
Yuddhaya krita nishchayaha.
Then he concludes this section by saying, Sukha dukkhe same kritva labha labhau jaya jayau tato yuddhaya yujyasva naivam papam avapsyasi. So treating gain and loss, treating sukha, comfort and discomfort, pain and pleasure, victory and defeat, treating all this in the same spirit, go and fight. Then you will not occur any papa, you will not occur any guilt. It is not a crime, it is not a sin, it is not anything negative. So treat victory and defeat, gain and loss, pain and pleasure in the same way, because whatever happens, it will lead to a good result. Either you will go to Viraswarga or you will enjoy the kingdom. So in both cases, you have got good options. So don't worry about these outcomes. You just go and fight. Sukha dukkhe labha alabhau. So labha labhau. So labha and alabha. So gain and loss. Labha labhau. Jaya jayau. Jaya ajayau. So victory and defeat. Jaya jayau. Jaya jayau. Same kritva. Having treated this the same way, making them equal. Same kritva. Tataha yuddhaya yujyasva. Then go and participate in the war. Evam, this kritam chet, having done this, papam na avapsyasi. You will not incur any guilt, you will not incur any papa. Sukha dukkhe same kritva.
Sukha dukkhe same kritva.
Labha labhau jaya jayau.
Labha labhau jaya jayau.
Tato yuddhaya yujyasva.
Tato yuddhaya yujyasva.
Naivam papam avapsyasi.
Naivam papam avapsyasi.
So, with the 39th shloka, he moves on to the next stage, which is, this is kind of a concluding shloka for that segment and a tie-in to the next segment. So, we will stop here for a few minutes and we'll go to the questions that came up. So, one of the questions that came up in yesterday's class in the chat section, I took a screenshot of that because I didn't want to miss that out. somebody asked about experiencing reality in Bhagavad Gita and Vedanta. I think he later wrote a question. So one question was, if the soul takes another body, why is it that when someone passes away, we pray for the soul to RIP? Does it signify liberation? So basically, like I said, the belief is that there is a continuous birth, death, and rebirth, and again death, and the cycle of birth and rebirth. The attempt is to move out of this. So the cycle is going on, and depending on the papa and punya karyas, you are going to be going in this circle. So when we attain this escape velocity of moksha, then we don't go in this circle. We are forever, we are liberated. So typically there is birth and death. Then after death there is swarga or naraka, and then we come back. If you attain that escape velocity of moksha or mukti, then one is never reborn. He attains that stage. Now, when somebody dies, the whole idea is we hope that they will not be born again. So when we know that rebirth is inevitable, the people who are surviving after the person, their near and dear one has departed, they would like to believe that the person went to Swarga. However good or bad the person was, after the death, there is always a feeling of warmth and affection in most cases. So they want that person to attain a good place. So I think it's more of to console the people who are alive. We say, let the Atma get the Sadgati and let them, we pray for the soul to get released from this cycle of birth and death. But as you know, that it's not in our hand, it is in the hand of that person. If they have done good punya karyas, they will automatically attain it. If they have done papa karyas, they will be born again. Maybe next time they will improve their condition. Okay. Then there was a question from Rupa Shri about the Shloka 25 and how the 26 contradicts it. Okay, so let us just quickly go to 25. What is 25? 25. Okay, so 25 is basically avyaktoyam achintyoyam. So it is the atma is beyond thought. It is beyond. It's not beyond form. It is beyond change and all these things. Then he in the 26 he says ata chainam nitya jatam nityam va manyase mritam tathapitvam mahabaho nainam shochitum arhasi. So he says even if you assume the reality remains that the Atma is beyond change, it is beyond thought, it is always existing, it is never born, it never dies, it is beyond the concept of time. All this is true. But even assuming you don't believe me, Krishna is telling Arjuna, let us say for the sake of argument, you say that Atma is born and Atma dies. Okay. Even then, even if that is true, so like sometimes when you are building an argument, we'll say, okay, for the sake of argument, let us say you are right. Even in that case, this behavior doesn't make sense, right? Like especially when your kids are behaving unreasonably, they try to give some cock and bull logic. Oh, actually this is the thing, what happened, if I had the mobile phone with me, I would have done. So he said, even if you had that, what you didn't do it, you could have borrowed it from some friend. Whatever you kind of call their bluff, right? That's kind of what Krishna is doing. He's calling the bluff. He's saying, even you're saying Atma is going to die. Even then, it doesn't. Your behavior is not justified. So this is for the sake of argument. He is not saying that the Atma is born and dead. Okay. So this is the 26th. Okay. So now this is clarified. Let us go back to where we were, otherwise we will lose track. Okay, another question from Reena Reddy. Okay, so there's a question about Viraswarga. So Viraswarga is a place, the idea again, when we are dealing with the beliefs, we cannot be very logical about it. We have to accept it as they are. The concept of Viraswarga is to motivate any warrior, right? Because nobody in their right mind would want to give up their life, especially when it's a good quality life. But we need to protect the borders. The soldiers need to motivate themselves. Even having assumed that, I mean, let us say out of my own accord, I have signed up to join the police force, I've signed up to join the army, and I'm sent to the front. I have to go and fight. Now, how will I motivate myself? I will motivate myself by feeling that, okay, I am doing a great job for my country, for my land, for my kingdom, whatever be the case. And if I die on the battlefield, I will attain some fantastic place in Swarga. If I don't have that motivation, it is very difficult. In fact, S.R. Ramaswamy sir has written a very nice article about many of the Indian army soldiers have been greatly inspired by Bhagavad Gita. In fact, there is a very touching story about this soldier who writes a letter in the Kargil war, who writes a letter to his mother saying, quoting the Gita, Hato va prapsyasi swargam jitva va bhokshase mahim. And it's a very nice letter because it's what will motivate you otherwise if you are not thinking of a higher this thing. So he says either I will hoist the tricolor or I will come back wrapped in the tricolor. So there is naturally a motivation which is required to fight war and risk your own life in battle, right? So therefore, when you say you are going to attain Veera Swarga, that motivates the warriors. Now, everybody will, whoever, again, for example, if you think of this as a temporary stage, whatever valor they have shown on the battlefield, for that period of time they will be in Veerasvarga, and again they will be reborn. So the same thing applies. Then another question which I think a lot of people may have, which is a practical question: when Krishna is giving the Gita-padesha to Arjuna, what about other people? Did they not come and listen, and were they not interested? Now, different people have explained this in different ways. I think we can never be sure about it. Maybe some people heard it. Maybe there were, if we know, at least Sanjaya heard it, if not anybody else, because he was narrating all this to Dhritarashtra. For example, Dr. S.L. Bhairappa, the great Kannada novelist, he in his Parva, which is a remarkable novel which deals with the Mahabharata story in a practical framework. So he imagines that this conversation happened the previous evening before the battlefield, before the start of the battle. That previous evening, Krishna and Arjuna have this conversation. I think that's what he has given in the Parva. Like this, some other people like Osho Rajneesh in his book, Krishna, the Man and His Philosophy, he says this was not a physical conversation, it was a mystical plane, there was a conversation. That is his belief. So like this, there are different explanations that I have seen. I think it is that I don't know, I was not there, so I cannot say with certainty. Maybe they have heard, maybe they did not, but it's not possible for us to say for sure. Then Nagendra Prasad had a question about, Atma is never born, it doesn't die. This is classic Vedanta, where he has quoted from the Nirvana Shatkam, Namrityurna Shankarame Jati Veda. So the concept of the Gita, when you see about the Atma, naturally it aligns with what is there in the Upanishads or later what Shankaracharya, other people have written. It is all aligned to that. And when we say Advaita Vedanta or Dvaita, whatever, the Bhagavad Gita has the possibility of explaining all these things. There is no problem. Depending on the school of thought, one can look at Veda, Upanishad, Gita, and select the portions which are suitable to them. So the nature of the Atma is Atma, or the inner self is the witness, eternal witness who is witnessing the world and who is going through this changes. What is changing is the body, youth and old age, and all these changes are happening to the body. But there is that internal witness which is unchanged. So that is called as Atma. Then there is another question. So Atma is different. So consciousness and Atma, they are two different things. Atma is the one which experiences the consciousness, we can say. Then, so again, like I said, we have quoted an Advaitic line. We can explain Advaita using Gita. We can also explain Vishishtadvaita using Gita. So Gita is not like a subset, it is a superset. All these things are possible. Okay, Sagar had a question about Swarga and Naraka, whether it is a state of mind or it is a real place. So is Krishna brainwashing Arjuna to go and fight, telling him that he will attain Swarga, even if he loses. Now, I think that the belief is that Swarga and Naraka are actual places. That's a belief. No, somebody who has gone to Swarga, sent us a photograph or pulled up on Instagram. No. So we have not gone there to see it, or we don't know about its existence. It's a belief. And the moment it's a belief, then there is no point in questioning it. Does that belief lead to something good here? Then it's a valuable belief. Okay, so if somebody believes that, oh, if I do good things, I will go to Swarga, and Swarga is all these fantastic qualities are there. It's free food for all, and there is entertainment of all kinds. And Naraka means there will be it's a place of suffering and trouble and torture and so on. I don't want to go there. So therefore, to avoid that, I will do good activities here. So Swarga and Naraka are constructs, they are ideas. Whether they really exist or not, it's a matter of belief because we don't have any evidence. But this motivation that if I do good, I will reach a good place, I think definitely has value. And the notion that in our own world, in our own life, right, if I do good things, the chances of me getting good results are very high. If I study well for the exam, chances of me scoring well are high, right? If I don't study, I'll probably fail. So when we see this cause and effect working in the material immediate world, we feel that this can be extended to after death as well. So that's what it is. So there are a few other questions. Okay. Very good question from Sri Hari. With regard to Shloka 35, he asks, does it mean that we should care for everything that society says? How can it be that someone who decides to not fight because of values and he who runs away due to fear be the same? Correct. Very, very pertinent question. So, when someone decides not to fight because of values, someone who decides not to fight because of fear, there are two instances. The context is very important. That's why we make a distinction between dharma, which is a dynamic equilibrium, which is a dynamic ethics, versus niti, which is a fixed normative ethics. You should not tell lies. But there are times when telling a lie will save somebody's life and telling a lie will help larger good. In that case, you have to tell a lie. Sometimes going in a certain wrong route may be useful to catch a criminal, which that you may go in a one-way. Police, if he says, oh, this is one way I should take, I think the thief is not going to bother about a one way. He is going to just drive his car. So the police also have to break certain rule. If the police says, no, I will wait at red signal, it's not correct. I learned in driving school, I should stop at red signal. Then by the time that criminal would have crossed the state or the country border. So like this, dharma is application of the concepts of the moral values to actual situations. So it is dharma to fight. It is dharma in this case not to move away from the battle. So before the stage, they tried their best to stop the war. So a person of values would have tried their best to avoid the war. But once the war is inevitable and they have to, whether he likes it or not, the war would have happened. Let us say, for the sake of argument, Arjuna said, "Okay, I don't agree with your arguments. I am very super value guy. I cannot fight," and he goes away. What would have happened? The war would have still taken place. No, that would not have changed Duryodhana's mind. That would not have changed Bhima's mind. That would not have changed Bhishma's mind. There would be one warrior less. It would be like instead of 11 players in your team, you have only 10 players. So the side of Dharma becomes even weaker. That's all would have happened. And the war would not have stopped because of his coming out of it. Now, Balarama did not participate. Did that stop the war? It still went on. No problem. So, who got the name? Did Balarama get renown or did Arjuna get renown in the Mahabharata? So, that is one part of the question. Now, do we need to care for everything the society says? Now, well, it's up to you. You can ignore it, but there in that point of time, you should just put yourself in Krishna's shoes, right? He's trying to use this also. He said about soul, is some other, whatever. People will make fun of you. if I tell you, if you wear this shirt and go, people will make fun of you. Won't you think, at least think twice? Oh, is this not a good shirt? Okay, maybe I should change it. So for a moment, it will change your mind. No, it has the potential to make you rethink your decision. So that's what he's indicating. Okay, a question from Narendra. A statement from Krishna indicating dying is better than dishonor. Is this a justification for those who are committing suicide? Well, he says for somebody who is an honorable person, disgrace is worse than death. He's not saying you should commit suicide. So don't put words into Krishna's mouth. Okay. He says disgrace is worse than death. You feel, why am I alive, listening to this kind of these words. Where did that go? Here. He says akirtim chapi bhutani kathayishyanti te vyayam. People will speak about your dishonorable act forever. Sambhavitasya cha akirtihi maranat atirichyate. Disgrace is worse than death. The death happens once and it's done. Once you're dead, it's gone. But disgrace continues. Now, this is the reason maybe why people commit suicide, because of disgrace. But Krishna is not asking you to commit suicide. Krishna is saying don't get into the state of disgrace. That's all. Okay. And there was another. Sorry, one sec. Which is the question? Yeah. So na plus evam will become naivam. I don't know. Maybe there's a mistake. I will look at the. So somebody asked, was Veeraswarga attained by all the? Yes, the Kauravas also attained Veeraswarga. In fact, when Yudhishthira dies and doesn't die, he ascends to Swarga directly in his physical body. He sees all the Kauravas also in Veeraswarga, right? And then he's amazed. Then Indra says, they also died on the battlefield fighting, so they attained Veeraswarga. Then for them, their punya would have been very little compared to their papa. So for some short time, they would have enjoyed Veeraswarga, I suppose. Okay, so now let's, I think I answered some of these questions that were there about, okay, so there's some typo in 26, I'll correct it. Thank you. We'll come, so he has spoken about the Atma, he has spoken about the practical implications of not fighting the war. Then he says, Esha te abhita sankhye buddhir yoge tvimam shrunu buddhya yukto yaya partha karma bandham prahasyasi. So far I have told you the path of Sankhya. Here, the word Sankhya should be taken as a indication for theory or theoretical knowledge. It is not linked to Sankhya, which is one of the 6 schools of Indian philosophy. The Sankhya Darshana is different. Here, the way of Sankhya is basically way of reasoning, way of the theoretical details. He says, thus far I have revealed to you the way of Sankhya. Now understand the practice of yoga. With this insight, you will break free from the karma bandha, the bondage of karma, the bondage of actions. It's like it's like the shackles or the bonds of action. You will break free from this karma bandha. He says, Partha, esha buddhihi te sankhye abhihita. I have so far told you the way of Sankhya. Yoge tu imam shrunu. Now listen to yoga. So in one sense, you can think of it as he has told the theoretical part of it. Now listen to the practical part of it. Yaya buddhya yuktah karma bandhan prahasyasi. With this buddhi, with this insight, yaya buddhya yuktah, having attained this insight, this vision, karma bandham prahasyasi. You will let go, you will break free, you will get out of the karma bandha, the bondage of action. So all this time he has told him the theoretical part of it, or the path of reasoning, Sankhya. Now he comes to yoga, which is the practical applications of that theoretical knowledge. Esha te bhihita sankhye
एषा ते विहिता सांख्ये
buddhir twimam shrunu
बुद्धिर्योगे त्विमां शृणु
buddhya yukto yaya partha
बुद्ध्या युक्तो यया पार्थ
karma bandham prahasyasi.
कर्म बन्ध्यं प्रहास्यसि.
Then he says, Nehabhikrama nashosti pratyavayona vidyate swalpamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. Another very famous verse. In this path, no effort is wasted, nor is there any bad outcome. Even a little effort in this direction will save you from misery. Iha abhikrama nashaha na asti. प्रत्यवायः न विद्यते अस्य धर्मस्य स्वल्पम अपि महतः भयात् त्रायते. So he's talking about the path of yoga now, which he's going to explain. And what kind of a path is this? Na iha abhikrama, this abhikrama undertaking, nashaha asti. It will not lead to any sort of destruction. Pratyavayaha, there will not be any bad outcome, something opposite. You are trying something, you are trying to go in some direction, you will not be pushed in an opposite direction. It will not lead to something totally opposite to what you are trying. So this yoga is something which will lead to positive results. And even a little bit of adhering to this dharma, even doing, like, for example, like you're doing a certain exercise or you're being advised to do pranayama or surya namaskara or walking every day, or you're whatever you have a plan. Even a little bit, if you do like 15 minutes of walking, it'll still help you from becoming sedentary. Even 20 times you breathe in and breathe out deeply, it will help you. Even a little bit, even you do twice. So any good activity, when done even in a very, very short period of time, a little bit, still is beneficial. So it may be great if you can do 1 hour of exercise, or if you are able to control your diet all the time. But even if you control your diet for 1 week, little bit, it will give you benefit. So this following the path of yoga, even a little bit will protect you, trayate, protect you from mahato bhayat, from a great peril, from a great danger, from great misery. So this famous example of a person wanting to go to reach a certain destination, if you are in the right direction, even if you are progressing very slowly, eventually you will reach a destination. But if you are in the wrong direction, however fast you run, you will not reach a destination. In fact, you will be going away from the destination. So if you are in the right direction, and if you are putting little steps, eventually you will reach. Even if somebody reads 1 page a day, at the end of a year, you would have finished reading 365 pages of that book. So 1 page a day doesn't seem like a big deal. In fact, this, if you look at some of the modern, life coaches, this is one of these very, very powerful suggestions that they have. Do a little bit every day consistently, and that becomes a habit. So even a little bit can protect you from a lot of misery. Nehabhikrama nashosti. Sagar.
नेहाभिक्रमनाशोऽस्ति
Pratyavayo na vidyate.
प्रत्यवायो न विद्यते
Swalpamapyasya dharmasya
स्वल्पमप्यस्य धर्मस्य
trayate mahato bhayat.
त्रायते महतो भयात्.
Vyavasayatmika buddhihi ekeha kurunandana bahushakha hyanantascha buddhayo vyavasayinam. A cultivated intellect attains single-pointed focus on this path. But for a wavering intellect, thoughts are multifold and endless. Krishna says, Kurunandana, iha vyavasayatmika, vyavasaya plus atmika, vyavasayatmika buddhihi eka bhavanti kintu, it remains in one place. Avyavasayinam cha buddhayah hi bahushakah anantaha. So, a vyavasaya atmika, a cultivated intellect, a cultured mind, a focused, a trained mind. All these, we can use any of these things. So, a mind that is focused and that is organized, that is trained, this has a single, the Vyavasayatmika Buddhihi, an intellect which is organized and cultivated and trained. Eka, it has got a single pointed focus. It can focus on one thing, exactly one thing. Whereas Avyavasayinam, one which is disorganized, one which is not cultivated, wavering, confused, all this Avyavasayinam cha buddhayaha, an intellect which is not cultivated, Bahushakhaha, it is multi-branched. It goes all like how the different branches of the tree go to different points. So it's multi-pronged, multi-branched, multifold. And Anantaha, it is endless, it is infinite. Hundreds and thousands of thoughts are coming all the time. Whereas a cultivated intellect can focus on one thing at a time, keeping out everything else. It can focus just on. And this is something all of us have experienced, right? When we train ourselves and train our mind and focus on one thing, we are able to hold that focus. But otherwise, it's all the time, it's getting distracted. Pretty straightforward. Well, Vyavasayatmika buddhihi.
Vyavasayatmika buddhihi.
Ekeha kurunandana.
Ekeha kurunandana.
Bahushakha hyanantascha.
Bahushakha hyanantascha.
Buddhayo vyavasayinam.
Buddhayo vyavasayinam.
Then he says, now he shifts the gear, he moves to another set of verses. Yamimam pushpitam vacham pravadanti avipaschitaha pravadantyavipaschitaha vedavada rataha partha nanyadasti iti vadinaha. Those who lack proper insight delight in the words of the Veda. They delight in the letter and not the spirit of the Veda. They proclaim in flowery words, there is nothing else other than this. This is continuing with the next one. I will go to that. Kamatmana swargapara janma karma phala pradam kriya vishesha bahulam bhogaishwarya gatim prati. They are full of desires and reaching Swarga is their supreme goal. They perform many elaborate rituals to attain pleasure and power. Their actions eventually result in rebirth. Okay, so Yam Imam Pushpitam Vacham, let's look at the prose order. He says, Partha, Veda Vada Rataha. They delight, they enjoy in the mere words of the Veda. Veda Vada Rataha. These people, what do they claim? Anyat na asti. Anyad nasti. Iti vadinaha avipaschitaha. The unenlightened. Vipaschita is a scholar, great thinker, savant. Avipaschita is an idiot. Imam Pushpitam Yam Vacham Pravadanti. So they proclaim in flowery words. What do they proclaim? Anyat na asti. There's nothing else other than this. This is the ultimate. This is the only thing. This is the only way. Right? They proclaim in all this flowery language. And what kind of people are they? Kamatmanaha, Swargapara. This avipaschitaha, these ignorant people, they are full of desires. Kamatmanaha. Then Swargapara. Their desire is only attaining Swarga. What do they gain? Janma karma phala pradam. So they eventually their actions result in rebirth. Bhogaishwarya, bhoga and aishwarya, bhogaishwarya gatim prati Kriya Vishesha Bahulam. So, in order to attain Bhoga and Aishwarya, Bhoga is kind of enjoyments and prosperity and wealth. To attain pleasure and power, uh, they Kriya Vishesha Bahulam. They do many elaborate rituals. They do all sorts of rites and ritualistic practices to attain pleasure and power. So their actions eventually result in rebirth. Now, one may think that Krishna is putting down Vedas in these two shlokas. That's not at all the case, because all the message so far, what he has given, what he is going to give, many of them are taken from Upanishad. Some of them are, of course, his own observations and insight. Krishna is a great thinker himself. So his own contribution is also there. But many of the things that he says in the Bhagavad Gita are there in the earlier texts like Vedas and Upanishads. And in the fourth chapter, Krishna himself says, this is nothing new. It's been there for a long time. So, what he's trying to focus here is the people who are blindly following the Veda, or who are just parroting words without knowing what it means, what is the implication. I think in some sense he's trying to make fun of the people who have made this Lupta Pindo, the Kriyaha, and when Arjuna says, "Oh, we have heard that they are going to stay in hell forever. We have heard that these ancestors will fall down, and all this kind of things." So people who make such arguments, probably he's talking about them here, that who are delighting only in the letter of the Veda, not taking the spirit of it. They are use very flowery words, pushpitam vacham. They say, oh, this is how it is, this is the only way it is. And what is the objective of these people who are he's talking about a certain group of people. He is not criticizing Veda, right? So these people, avipaschitaha, the unenlightened ones, they are only interested in rituals to gain bhoga and aishwarya. They are not interested in lokahita. They are not interested in chitta shuddhi. They are not interested in any of these things. They want pleasure and power. When they are alive, they want to enjoy their life with all the luxuries, and after their death, they want to land up in Swarga so that it continues. Right? Sometimes when people go on a vacation, instead of experiencing the real world outside, what they do is they will go to some they will from their whatever mansion, wherever they live, they will go to some other place and take up another mansion to stay there for a few days, so to get a cultural flavor. But they will not actually stay in with the people. So that is of really not any great use, right? So these are the people who want to have a good life here and want to have a good life hereafter, without the necessary prerequisites for that. So instead of doing some punya karya, instead of working for the welfare of the world, instead of working on improving, cultivating their mind and their intellect, they want to do some ritual, because ritual is very easy, right? So you do whatever you want in the day-to-day life. Then you just come and do some ritual, like our politicians, they will come and do some yajna or homa or something. Rest of the 364 days, they will be engaged in activities that are not befitting good people. So it cannot be used as a subterfuge. Ritual has to be done for its own sake because it has certain value. It should not be used as some sort of a shortcut to avoid the punishments. So that's all he's trying to say in these two verses. Yam imam pushpitam vacham
Yamimam pushpitam vacham
pravadantyavipashchitah
pravadantyavapaschitah
pravadantyavipashchitah
pravadanyavipashchitah
vedavadarataha partha
vedavadarata partha
nanyadastiti vadinaha.
nanyadastiti vadinah
कामात्मान स्वर्गपरा
कामात्मान स्वर्गपरा
जन्म कर्म फलप्रदाम
जन्म कर्म फलप्रदां
क्रिया विशेष बहुलाम
क्रिया विशेष बहुलां
भोगैश्वर्य गतिम प्रति.
भोगैश्वर्य गतिं प्रति.
Then he says, Bhogaishwarya prasaktanam tayapahrita chetasam vyavasayatmika buddhihi samadhau na vidhiyate. So those who are attached to pleasure and power are led astray by this flowery language, and they never attain the intellect of a contemplative mind. They never attain that cultivated, that organized intellect. They never attain that stage. Taya apahrita chetasa, chetasam. So these people who have their thoughts and their ideas, their mind has been apahrita, abducted, kidnapped by bhoga ishwarya prasaktanam. Bhoga ishwarya prasaktanam. So by this, the pleasure and power and the possibility of gaining this has captured their imagination. They're only interested in that. So vyavasayatmika buddhihi samadhau na vidhiyate. That contemplative mind, that state of samadhi, that the organized intellect, they never attain that in their attempts, because they have been attracted by the bhoga and aishwarya. So they want to look at the Veda as if it is some sort of shortcut manual to get prosperity and pleasure in this life and hereafter. They are not looking at the Veda or Upanishad as a means to refine themselves. So therefore, they never attain this state, which is a peaceful state of a cultivated intellect. Bhogaishwarya prasaktanam
भोगैश्वर्य प्रसक्तानां
tayapahृta chetasam
तयापहृतचेतसां
vyavasayatmika buddhihi
व्यवसायात्मिका बुद्धिः
samadhau na vidhiyate.
समाधौ न विधीयते.
Then famous verse, he says, Traigunya Vishaya Veda Nistraigunyo Bhavarjuna Nirdvandvo Nitya Sattvastho Niryoga Kshema Atmavan. The Vedas deal with the three inherent tendencies or three gunas. Free yourself from their influence. Go beyond the dualities and give up the desire to acquire or hold. Be a master of yourself and be established in sattva. So there are three inherent tendencies which are discussed in great detail in the 14th and 17th, 18th chapters. I will come to that. We'll just look at the prose order of this verse. He says, Arjuna, Vedaha Traigunya Vishayaha. The Vedas deal with the three gunas, Traigunya Vishayaha, with details of the three inherent traits or innate tendencies. Nistraigunya nirdvandvaha nitya sattvastaha niryogakshemaha atmavan bhava. So he is asking Arjuna to be nistraigunya, free from the three gunas, go beyond the three gunas. Nirdvandvaha, go beyond the dualities. Nitya sattvastaha, forever established in sattva. Niryoga kshemaha, not worried about yoga and kshema. And atmavan, master of yourself. Okay, so let us look at this verse in a little bit of detail and we'll wrap up with this. It's a very important shloka. The three innate tendencies of a human being, as expounded in the school of philosophy known as Sankhya, this is where we get the three gunas. The three gunas are sattva, rajas, and tamas. Many of you have probably heard of this. Sattva is a sort of benign goodness, innate strength, a vigorous adherence to dharma. These kind of traits you can see, these kind of values are under sattva. It is benign, it is good, it is strong, and it is like the ideals. There is the best state among the three, sattva. Then rajas is a state of relentless activity, constant work. It's this like all the time, trying to be very, very active. Tamas is a state of deluded lethargy and laziness and complete sloth. Now, if we want to fall asleep, we need tamas. If we want to do work, we need rajas. But for the larger, state for when we are doing our day-to-day activities all the time, what should be predominant is sattva. Sattva is that nobility and that vigor and goodness. All those things are there in sattva. So among the three, sattva is very good. If you can transcend the three gunas, that is the highest state. That's what he says. So one is ideally, the Vedas deal with these three inherent qualities, gunas. You try to go beyond their influence. If you can't go beyond the influence, at least you be in sattva. So this is the message. So nistraigunyaha. So try to go beyond the influence of the three gunas. Nirdvandvaha. There are dualities like heat and cold, pain and pleasure, good and bad, agreeable, disagreeable. All these opposites are there, dualities. So try to go beyond these dualities. Don't think of this is good, this is not good. I will have certain reaction to something which is good and pleasurable. I will chase after that. If it is not good, if it is something I don't like, I will avoid that. Instead of having this kind of thing, go beyond the dualities. And always be established in sattva, nitya sattvasthaha. So always try to be established in sattva. Then niryoga kshema. So we have this concept of yoga and kshema. Yoga means acquiring something new. Yoga, the basic word means union, yoking together, coming together, right? So yoga, in this case, yoga kshema, when we say yoga is trying to get something which we don't have. Kshema is protecting what we already have. So go beyond this mad rush to acquire and hold on to what you have. So go beyond that. And Atmavan, be yourself, be a master of yourself. Atmavan. So this is if somebody understands this one shloka completely, then you don't need Bhagavad Gita at all. Like this, there are so many shlokas, standalone shlokas in Gita, where if you just get that one shloka in practice completely in your life, you don't need anything else because everything else will be taken care of. That's also one of the beauties of the Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so let's just recite this and before we close for today. Traigunya Vishaya Veda.
Traigunya Vishaya Veda.
Nistraigunyo Bhavarjuna.
Nistraigunyo Bhavarjuna.
Nirdvandvo Nitya Sattvastho.
Nirdvandvo Nitya Sattvastho.
Niryoga Kshema Atmavan.
Niryoga Kshema Atmavan.
Okay, so thank you, Sagar, for reciting after me. There's one question. Okay, so this is a big question. I think I'll take it up tomorrow from Archana Srivastav. So I'll take this up tomorrow. So thank you so much, and I hope you found today's session valuable. There are many important shlokas that we discussed today. And the second chapter is very, very interesting. It has so many amazing verses, especially like, this 45th, and then soon we will see the 47th. From here onwards, it's like it only gets better and better. 55 to 72 almost continuously very, very practical and very powerful advice on how to improve the quality of our life. So thank you so much, and we'll meet again tomorrow at the same time. Namaste.
Thank you, Hari.